So one of the questions I get by far the most is who's going to be the Republican nominee for president in 2028? Which is a really interesting question, honestly, because so much of it depends on what Donald Trump does. By the way, this is true of virtually everything in the Republican Party and everything in American politics. So much depends on what Donald Trump does. Well, I was reading a piece called Who is the Heir to the MAGA Movement? Trump Keeps His Options Open. This is over the weekend in the Wall Street Journal, which I sprung for and got a subscription because I just think it's such a great paper organization. So I want to read you just the beginning because this is really important. On Tuesday, Trump told reporters Vice President J.D. Vance is probably the favorite to succeed him, echoing what he has privately told associates. But Trump also talked up another administration official who has emerged as one of his most trusted advisors, Secretary of State Marco Rubio. One more paragraph. Behind the scenes, Trump has at times appeared to stoke competition between Vance and Rubio, teasing them about their well-known political ambitions. Which one of you is going to be at the top of the ticket? Trump asked the men earlier this year, according to a person with knowledge of the conversation, adding, I used to think it would be Vance Rubio, but maybe it will be Rubio Vance. Okay, so I have a bunch of things to say about this because there's so many complicating factors. Let's first say, I still think J.D. Vance is probably much, I would say significantly more likely than Marco Rubio to wind up as the nominee. Okay. But that said, there's a lot here. One, remember that Donald Trump is a reality TV show guy, right? And he doesn't want to spoil the drama in the summer of 2025 by saying who his successor should be. Then you won't watch all the episodes to come, right? Right. So, of course, he's going to play it up. Of course, he's going to pit Rubio against Vance. Maybe another contestant enters the drama because that's what he does. That's who he is, right? This is his nature. He is not going, he wants there to be a big reveal. He does not want it to be like, I don't have to ask Trump anymore. He already endorsed Vance or he already endorsed Rubio. Okay, so that's point one. Point two of why he's not saying anything or he's hedging. Because I still think that Don Jr., his son, his eldest son, his blood relative, is in the mix here. Yes, I know he and J.D. Vance are friends. I get that. He, Don Jr. and J.D. Vance. I understand that. I'm not saying they're not. I think they actually are friends. But this is politics, and Don Jr. wants to be in elected office, and he doesn't want to be a House member. I don't even know if he wants to be a senator. Maybe he wants to be a governor, but he definitely would like to be a president. And what better way for Donald Trump to hand off Trumpism than to his eldest son? It's so old school, right? It's like, my wife gave birth to a son and now my lineage is confirmed for decades to come. I've been listening to a lot of like 15th and 16th century history podcasts. And it's like the best thing that you can have is an eldest male child. Donald Trump thinks like that at times. So does he want to preserve the Don Jr. possibility? And that's why he's not endorsing. Yes, I think that's at least part of it. So that's reason two, he's not endorsing. Reason three, he's not endorsing. Because, and the Wall Street Journal mentions this a little bit, because I do think there's that little voice in his head that says, why can't you do it again? They cheated you your whole first term. They cheated you out of basically because of the Russia hoax. It wasn't a hoax, but regardless, every time that 2028 and running again, which he is constitutionally barred from doing, let's make clear, every time it comes up, he doesn't say definitively no. At times he says something like, well, I've talked to people who want me to do it. Other times he said, well, there are ways to do it. Other times he said, I don't think we're going to do that, but maybe we will, right? Like, he never says no. And so I think Trump's life is about why take it off the table? Because what if 2027 comes around and people want him to do it? Why would you ever close a door that would allow you to continue to be president, right? So it's the reality TV show producer, Vance v. Rubio, maybe v. Trump Jr. It's Don Jr., sort of out there in the mix still. And it is Donald Trump Sr. thinking potentially he wants to run for president again if he could make it happen, right? So I think those are all the reasons. But what is fascinating is like every time I read one of these stories, I think J.D. Vance must just be like, crying in his soup because, in the Super Bowl interview, Brett Baer asked Donald Trump directly earlier this year, is J.D. Vance the heir to your sort of political legacy? And he said, no. He said, there's a lot of potential heirs. Like, if you're Vance, you're like, what more do I need to do? So that, to me, is an interesting storyline to watch, both what Donald Trump Sr. says about succession, but then also what Vance and Rubio and Don Jr. and honestly Don Sr. do about 2028. It's a fascinating plot line that I'm going to keep an eye on. Do me one favor. Hit that subscribe button. You get free content every day just like this, and you help me continue to grow. Thank you, and I'll see you tomorrow.